Hello children, hope all are fine and healthy. Myself Kokila Bhatia teaching Maths 1st Standard 8th in Shet Vidya Mandir English High School and Junior College welcome you all. Today we are going to learn and discuss lesson number 13 Congruency of Triangles. Now children, what do you mean by congruent? As you know, all the types of triangles, that is equilateral triangle, isosceles triangle, right angle triangle, and many more. So if the sides of the two triangles are equal and angles of the two triangles are equal, then these two triangles are congruent. If the angles are of equal measure, then they are congruent. So we can say that if two geometric figures coincide exactly over the other, then the figures are said to be congruent to each other. The segments of equal lengths are congruent. The angles of equal measures are congruent. Children, look at this triangle DEF. Now looking at this figure, let us answer to the following questions. Your first question, which is the angle opposite to side DE? Angle F is the angle opposite to side DE. Your next question, which is the side opposite to angle E? Side DF is the side opposite to angle E. Your next question, which angle is included by side DE and side DF? Side DE and side DF includes angle D. Next question, which side is included by angle E and angle F? Side EF is included by angle E and angle F. Next, state the angles adjacent to side DE. Angle D and angle E are adjacent to side DE. One-to-one correspondence. The way of matching the vertices is called one-to-one correspondence. For example, the two triangles are given to you, that is triangle ABC and triangle PQR. Let us see which vertex corresponds to which vertex. Vertex A corresponds to vertex P, that is A corresponds P. See the sign of corresponds. Then vertex B corresponds to vertex Q, that is B corresponds Q. Vertex C corresponds to vertex R, that is C corresponds R. So now we can say that triangle ABC corresponds to triangle PQR. Congruency of triangles. Now what do you mean by congruency of triangles? Children, when the correspondence of three sides and three angles of a triangle are congruent to corresponding three sides and three angles of the other triangle, then we can say that the triangles are congruent to each other. Now look at this example. If for triangle GEF corresponds to triangle GHI, then side DE is congruent to side GH, side EF is congruent to side HI, side DF is congruent to side GI. These are about the sides. Now the angles. Angle D is congruent to angle G, angle E is congruent to angle H, angle F is congruent to angle I. So we can say that triangle DEF is congruent to triangle GHI. You also have to remember, children, when the two triangles are congruent in this way, then we get 6 congruencies. Test for congruency of triangles. There are 5 types of test that we are going to learn. The first one is SSS test, that is side, side, side test. The second one is SAS test, that is side, angle, side test. The third one is ASA test, that is angle side angle test. The fourth one is AAS test or SAA test, that is angle side test. And the last one is hypotenuse side test, that is hypotenuse side test for right angled triangle. So let's go for the first test, that is side test. Now if three sides of a triangle are congruent to corresponding three sides of another triangle, then the two triangles are congruent to each other. That means the three sides of the triangle should be congruent to the three sides of the other triangle. Then only we can say that the two triangles are congruent by side test. Let's go for an example for side test, that is SSS test. Now look at these two triangles, triangle PQR and triangle XYZ. In this, side PQ is congruent to side XY, side QR is congruent to side YZ, side PR is congruent to side XZ. So we can say that triangle PQR is congruent to triangle XYZ by side test, that is SSS test. So children, the three sides of a triangle are congruent to the three sides of the other triangle. Then only we can say that the two triangles are congruent to each other. The next test, side angle side test, that is SAS test. Looking at the test only, we can make out, children, that the two sides and one angle of a triangle should be congruent to two sides and one angle of another triangle. Then only we can say that the two triangles are congruent to each other. So we can say that if two sides and the included angle of a triangle are congruent to two corresponding sides and the included angle of another triangle, then the two triangles are congruent to each other. Let's see the example of side angle side test, that is SAS test. Now children, in these two triangles, triangle ABC and triangle DEF, side AC is congruent to side DF. Angle C is congruent to angle F. Side BC is congruent to side EF. So we can say that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF by SAS test. So children, here you can see that the two sides and one angle of a triangle is congruent to two sides and one angle of the other triangle. So we can say that the two triangles are congruent to each other. Angle side angle test, ASA test. Now here, two angles and one side of a triangle should be congruent to two angles and one side of the other triangle. Then we can say that the two triangles are congruent to each other. So we can say that if two angles and the included side of a triangle are congruent to two corresponding angles and the included side of the other triangle, then the two triangles are congruent to each other. Let's see the example for angle side angle test, that is ASA test. Now in triangle PQR and triangle XYZ, angle P is congruent to angle X, side PQ is congruent to side XY, angle Q is congruent to angle Y. So we can say that triangle PQR is congruent to triangle XYZ by ASA test. Angle side test, that is AAS test or SAA test. Now looking at this test only, again children, we can make out that the two angles and one side of a triangle should be congruent to two angles and one side of the other triangle. Then we can say that the two triangles are congruent to each other. So if two angles and non-included side of a triangle are congruent to two corresponding angles and non-included side of other triangle, then two triangles are congruent to each other. Let's see the example of angle side test, that is AAS test. Now in triangle ABC and triangle XYZ, angle B is congruent to angle Y, angle C is congruent to angle Z, and side AC is congruent to side XZ. So we can say that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle XYZ by AAS test. Now, hypotenuse side test for right angled triangle, that is hypotenuse side test. Now, if the hypotenuse and one side of the right angle triangle are equal to the hypotenuse and one side of another right angle triangle, then the two triangles are congruent to each other. Let's see the example of hypotenuse side test for right angled triangles. Now in triangle LMN and triangle XYZ, angle M is equal to angle Y, which is equal to 90 degrees. Hypotenuse LN is congruent to hypotenuse XZ and side MN is congruent to side YZ. So we can say that triangle LMN is congruent to triangle XYZ by hypotenuse side test. With this, I finished the explanation of congruency of triangle. I'll be back with practice set 13.1 in my next session. Thank you and God bless.